Hello world, it's Austin. Let's talk about being transgender and Christian, except for not really, surprise! Hi everybody. This month is July now, and just last night, or actually this morning at like 1:30 in the morning, I sent off the first draft of the script for the Trans and Christian book, and I'm so excited about it, and it's gonna be great, and yeah, I'm really excited about the way it's turning out, but I'm also exhausted and have had no time to prep things for you folks, which is a major bummer. So, here's what we're doing this month. This is Emmy. Say hi, Emmy.
Hi, Emmy.
So, Emmy does a lot of things, and I'm going to have her introduce herself in a second, but what we're going to do is we're going to play a game this week, and part of this video you're seeing right now, and the other part is going to be up on the Patreon page as part of the June benefits, because I'm a little bit behind because of the book. So now everything is going to come together. It's going to be great. Everything's going to come together. I'm going to get caught up. This is going to be a great video. So, Emmy, tell us who you are.
Hi, I'm Emmy. I'm a pastor in Northeast Minneapolis. I'm a Lutheran pastor. Austin and I were in seminary together. We were friends on the internet before then. I have been doing LGBTQ and Christian intersectional work since, I don't know, probably age 16 when I realized that I was gay and had to deal with that. Intersecting with my faith, and then after that it just became a lifelong project. I also, in addition to being a pastor in Northeast, run a website called Queer Grace, which is an encyclopedia of all the other resources on the internet around being LGBTQ and Christian, because...
It's awesome.
Thanks. Because everything's just kind of scattered around, and so I tried to create one place where you could get multiple sources on, like, what do we do with Leviticus? Here's 18 different articles and 6 different vlogs and 2 different books that you could potentially check out.
Yeah, and besides just referencing other things, there's also original content.
Right, there is also original content,
Yeah, and I've written for it a couple times.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's great.
Yeah. I thought it would be fun to try to create a game today. So essentially what we're going to do is play this 6 Degrees of Separation game, where we are going to start with a Bible theme or Bible story, and we are going to connect it in less than 6 degrees and as fast as we can to something queer.
Through Kevin Bacon.
We're going to connect it to, like, something in modern culture, books, movies, TV, anything like that, or to some sort of queer experience that is common to a lot of people.
Right.
And then in the second part of this video up on the Patreon, we're going to go the other way, and we're going to go from, like, stereotypical queer things to Bible stories and Bible verses.
Right.
So, this is going to be a fun experiment. And speaking of Patreon, I have to give a shout out this month to Justin Soong, who again is sponsoring at this really cool level where I get to shout out your name and the awesome things that you do. Justin is over making music on Patreon, and it's really awesome. I've listened to some of it, and I really enjoy it. And so if you want to check out Justin on Patreon, check out the Patreon, and you'll see all the people that have subscribed, and it's great. Okay, so let's get into it.
Yeah.
So we're going to start out with Bible stories. I'm going to give you a Bible story, and then you're going to connect it to a queer thing.
Right.
And then you're going to give me some. So we don't know, like, we have a general list, but we don't know which one's going to happen first.
Right, yeah.
And we're going to try to do it as fast as possible. First Bible story to connect to a queer thing.
Okay.
The Last Supper.
Ooh. The Last Supper, which would normally, I think, it's a Passover meal, right?
Right.
That's how we traditionally understand this.
Yep.
And would normally have been done with family.
Right.
You would have been gathering your whole family together, and instead it is among a family of, you could say, choice. Queer people have to do a lot of that because we often, many of us are exiled from our families. Many of us don't go home for holidays and Christmas because either going into an unsafe space or just a really painful space. And a lot of us move to more progressive cities in order to find greater safety and more representation for ourselves.
True.
And so a lot of us don't get to go home for holidays and be with our biological family, and so we are with our family of choice.
I love it. I love that connection.
Are you ready?
Yes, I'm
Are you ready?
Yes.
Bible to queer. The parting of the Red Sea.
Ooh, I like that. All right, I've got a metaphor for you.
Ooh,
so this isn't
I like
going to be a
metaphors.
direct correlation, but this is going to be a metaphor to a queer experience.
Okay.
So, the Israelites are escaping the Egyptians, and they're running away, and they come to the Red Sea, and Moses is like, crap, how are we going to get across this Red Sea? And so, God tells him to put a staff in the water, and he does, and the Red Sea parts, and they walk through, the Israelites walk through on dry land. So, here's what I'm seeing.
One of the
right
best
now.
moments in Prince of Egypt.
So true, such good animation.
Right.
Queer people often have to deal with gender roles and expectations.
Okay.
People want them to split into male or female,
Ooh.
but the only way to get to safety is to find your path through dry land between those roles and expectations.
That is beautiful.
Bam!
Done.
Okay, I'm gonna give you an easy one. You ready? David and Goliath.
Why is that easy? Can I go in a really nerdy direction?
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Obviously.
So one of my favorite commentaries on David and Goliath is not by a biblical scholar, but by, can you guess who? Malcolm Gladwell.
Oh.
And he talks about the fact that, he goes into a lot of different nerdy things, but basically that, like, Goliath was a certain kind of soldier, and David, based on like size and his abilities, particularly sort of this archery slingshotting thing,
right,
was a different kind of soldier.
Okay.
And so you have a matchup that's sort of like playing rock, paper, scissors.
Oh,
rather than just like rock versus rock.
Right.
You have rock versus David being paper, where
right,
like of course he's going to win. He is skilled with a slingshot. He can attack. He's a long-range attacker.
Right.
And
rather than like a melee attack.
Exactly. Goliath is expecting one kind of attack.
Yeah.
And everyone else is expecting whoever fights Goliath to attack with one kind of attack.
Right.
And then the ability to come forward with other varieties and sets of skills is what ultimately gave David the win. People who can see outside gender norms and sexual orientation norms and everything else that fits into the cis-hetero patriarchy. People who can see outside of that can see solutions that are not always apparent and can actually be more successful and can win, I'm going to go with a metaphoric, not a violent victory.
I like it. Like, that happens even within queer communities. Like, non-binary people notice things and realize things about gender that binary trans folks don't realize, and bisexual people will sometimes notice and respond to things that people who are strictly gay or lesbian don't realize.
All right, we're gonna stick with the Hebrew Scriptures theme for you. We're gonna go with Moses and the burning bush.
Oh my gosh, my favorite story in the whole freaking
Is it for real?
Well, I mean, like, so, it's not my favorite, like, scriptural passage, but it's my favorite story. Okay. Here's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
So, in the story of Moses and the burning bush, Moses is out shepherding his sheep one day. He sees this bush on fire, but it's not being consumed, and he's like, that's a little strange. And so he goes to take a look at it. God speaks to him from this burning bush, and God essentially tells him, I need you to go free the Israelite people from Egypt. And Moses is like, this is a little much. I'm a shepherd. The whole thing that, like, transpires in their conversation is God saying, I want you to go do this thing, and Moses saying, I can't do the thing. And then God trying to, like, give him some sort of, like, sign that he can do it and try to, like, convince him. And then at the end, God is like, who made you even? Like, who made you capable of doing the thing or not doing the thing? And so I see that a lot in queer folks when we're trying to come to recognize our identities or our sexualities or something like that, where we spend a lot of time pushing back and going like, I don't want that. I don't want to do that thing or come out, or I don't want to recognize that thing about myself. God is calling us to a deeper recognition of who we are and what we're called to do, even when we're, like, pushing back against that thing. And then at some point, we get to a point where we recognize, like, well, if God made me, God clearly has a concept of what I am made to do, like what my purpose is. And so we can kind of come to recognize that, and that can help us in this sort of coming out journey to recognize, like, we are made for something specific, and God is calling us into that thing.
And we're made for something specific that is for others, not just for ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people think of coming out as like a selfish thing almost, where it's like, I'm going to make it all about me and my journey.
Right.
How is it that coming to understand who you are can actually be a gift for other people?
When I know myself better and I can tell the people who love me about who I am more clearly, then that allows them to love me more deeply and have a deeper relationship, and that becomes more transformative, because the deeper and the more vulnerable and the more honest you can be with the people around you, the more you can transform each other.
Sweet.
But then there's also the sense of, so just baseline of, like, self-awareness, vulnerability, honesty with the people who are around you. But I think also, for me, the multiple modes of being queer helps me recognize my unity with people who are not like me in a marginal, but who are all in a similar marginalized community.
Yeah.
And that has been for me a really big entry point into an intersectional life lens.
Right. Okay, so that's our, it started out as a 6 degrees of separation and then just became a 1-to-1 separation, so it didn't quite turn out the way I expected, but,
Do you want to start over? We can just
I'm so tired, Emmy. Oh god, let me nap. What I was trying to get at with this whole game is the idea that, like, the way that we read things in scripture can help us realize the relevance that these stories have for our lives. I think a lot of times we hear Bible stories and we're just like, that happened a long time ago, who cares? But like, especially for people that experience marginalization in whatever way, whether that's like through dealing with racism or sexism or transphobia or homophobia or whatever, we have a deep connection to these Bible stories in really interesting ways. So that's where I was going with this. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. If you want to watch the other half of the video, or sort of half of the video, it's going to be over on the Patreon page. If you have emailed me recently and to like say anything or ask me any questions, I am sorry that I have been not responsive while I've been finishing this manuscript.
No.
I now get to start answering emails again, so...
Are you going to take like one day off?
Yes, I'm going to take tomorrow, I think, off, and then I'm going to start answering emails. So if you've emailed me and I haven't gotten back to you, I'm sorry, it's coming. And I think that's all. So thanks for watching, and we will see you back here next month, everybody. Peace! Everybody's got a baby kangaroo.
Mine is...
Yours is pink, but mine is blue. Gender normative.